So we'll get started. Hi, I'm Carl Turner from Expat Tax Thailand, and thanks for joining the CRS and FATCA request webinar by Thai banks, just to explain to people why you're receiving this information and also what to do, how to complete the forms. So I'll help go through that at the end. Just give you a bit of background. I'm the co-founder of Expat Tax Thailand. So the purpose of this webinar is really to give you the up-to-date information and help people complete these forms and understand what are the requirements. And at Expat Tax Thailand, we're here to help individuals understand their Thai tax filing obligations so they can make better informed decisions. So we're here to help and add the questions as mentioned into the Q&A. So Expat Tax Thailand, we're a Thai registered, Thai majority owned company. We specialize in working with expats, helping them with their Thai personal income tax filing and ongoing advice and support. All of the advice is from our Thai accountants who are authorized and regulated through the Federation of Accounting Professionals. My role is purely to explain in simple terms to expats the rules and act as a go-between to explain the rules in English. So all the advice is given and all the accounting work is given by Thai authorized and qualified accountants. So who's going to benefit from this webinar? So anyone who's received the CRS forms from Thai banks and would like help completing, or anyone who would like to know more about CRS and tax reporting. So we will go through the step-by-step forms to actually go through how to complete these forms. I've gone through each part to explain exactly what you need to fill out and how, and what the requirements are. So today we'll go through why have the banks requested this information and why have they started to ask for this information. We'll explain what CRS actually is and what it means, and what if you don't complete these forms, and how to complete the forms, who needs a tax ID number and who doesn't, and then we'll get into the Q&A. So a quick disclaimer, the content provided is for information purposes only. It doesn't constitute professional tax or financial advice and shouldn't be acted upon in isolation. We've got plenty of videos and content if you'd like more information on different topics regarding Thai tax through our YouTube channel or through our website, expattaxthailand.com. And the other services that we help with free 15-minute consultations to go through tax calculators for people. If people would like one-on-one consultations, we help provide that as well. We can help obtain tax ID numbers if that's needed, and we are here to help with your questions. And our core business is actually tax filing, so online tax filing for Thai tax submissions. I do recommend, if you've not signed up to our tax alerts, that you sign up so you can be kept up to date with things like changes and requirements like these CRS forms. We're here to help, and we'll keep you updated with any future changes, like if Thailand does move to a worldwide taxation basis, you'll be the first ones to know if you sign up for tax alerts. So why have the Thai banks started to ask for tax information? So Thailand signed up to something called Common Reporting Standards in 2020. And it's all to do with automatic exchange of information. So CRS is part of OECD countries. It was set up by OECD countries in 2016. And now there are over 120 countries that have signed up so far. So Thailand signed up 2020, but the list is pretty comprehensive. All of the major countries are on there: Canada, UK, Australia, all of the EU, Singapore, Hong Kong, for example. Why was it set up? So it was set up to avoid tax evasion and stop people avoiding tax liabilities. And it's the free flow of information between the various tax authorities and revenue authorities that have signed up to this. So let's talk about what is a reportable person. So anyone who has any control over any financial asset, that's a reportable person. If you're in Thailand 180 days or more in a calendar year, you are a Thai tax resident as well. So then Thailand will receive the data from all of your accounts and all the other jurisdictions, part of CRS. So what kind of accounts are under scope with CRS, apart from people that have received this for their bank accounts? So any bank accounts, any debit cards, credit cards, if you've got a pension or insurance product, investment product, then all of this information, if those countries where you've got these assets has as part of common reporting standard country, then that will be sent to the relevant tax authority. So the information's already been sent. What is actually being reported from all these types of assets? So first of all, it's the name, address, tax IDs, account values, and then money ins and outs from the banks or pensions or financial institutions. This is being reported every year to the local tax authority. And then they distribute that to all of the relevant CRS countries where people are tax resident or have other assets. So actually on the form itself, you can actually see that the Revenue Department actually have stated on the KBank form, it actually states that you need to, you've given them authority to send the information direct to the tax authorities. So how will the Thai revenue know, or how will this all be shared? The tax information, well, the Thai Revenue Department, for example, as part of CRS, their software plugs into the other CRS revenue departments, and the information is shared directly and downloaded in an XLS file for all the other CRS countries. So that's for ATM, credit cards. If you're sending money to other people, then that's part of the transaction history. So all information is recorded. So it's nothing to worry about. And this has been happening for many years in other countries. Thailand signed up to this 2020, and now this is the first real implementation from the banks. So what if you don't complete the form? So I've had a lot of questions of this, so it'll be good to answer. If you don't respond or comply with the banks, then the bank's got the right to close your account and report the information to CRS that you've not complied. So this is standard practice, and with account restrictions and closing accounts, it's quite common if people don't comply. So KBank have sent out these forms because they are legally and contractually obliged by CRS and FATCA to send this to all their clients. So all of the banks and institutions will follow suit, but actually you see this as a positive from KBank, that you can see that they are diligent and they're on the ball, that they've sent out, and they're remaining compliant with their obligations. So all the other banks will follow suit. If you were to sign up to a bank product, for example, or bank account in another CRS country, then you would automatically be sent these forms when you sign up. So because Thailand signed up after the start of CRS, then that's why you're getting these forms afterwards. So let's go through if you fail to provide the information. So actually in the documentation that you sign, there's actually a disclaimer on there to say that KBank have the right at their discretion to terminate your contract and relationship if you don't provide the information that they have asked for. And they have to put that on there due to the terms with CRS. So it's not them being harsh on there. So I think that's really important to know. So let's go into what has been sent out by KBank. They emailed all clients, banking clients, on the 23rd of November. And the email, there's a little snippet there from what was sent. So they asked for certain documents and requirements. If you haven't received the email from KBank, feel free to get in touch. We can send you the documentation that you need to provide, or visit your local branch. But we're happy to help if you need any help with that. So what instructions were given by KBank? So they mentioned that you've got to complete and sign the relevant form. So it's 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. And they've asked for a certified true copy of a passport. I'll explain what that means later. And they said you need to return the completed forms by email to the email they've provided, no later than the 20th of December. So a few tips and advice to help people is you can either email these back to KBank as attachments, or I actually spoke to KBank and they mentioned that if people have security concerns, you can print out the forms, complete them physically, take them to your local branch with your bank book and passport, and you can drop them off there. So if you do have any concerns about email and across the attachments, you can visit the branch to drop these documents off, but they do advise people it's better to email that across to save everyone time. So a good tip for you regarding the passport, I've had many questions about how to get this certified. So when I spoke to the bank, they actually mentioned that you don't need to get it certified by a professional. What it actually means is you just print your passport out, sign it yourself. So you self-certify, scan that document on and email it off. So that will save a lot of people the hassle of going to get the document certified. They will accept that. And you only need to complete the forms relevant to you, not all the forms. So you don't need to fill out 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. It's only the forms that are relevant to your situation. I'll go through that. I'll explain that later. So if you do have any further queries, you can call KBank on the number provided, or you can ask in the Q&A session here. So who's got to complete the forms? I've had questions to say this doesn't look relevant for me because it's asking about American, US data. So just to clear this up, everyone who has a KBank account, or if you've been requested from another bank, everyone has to complete the form 1.1, which is the FATCA CRS form. And then you only complete form 1.2 and 1.3, which is the W-9 and W-8BEN form, BEN form, under certain conditions. So everyone completes form 1.1, and then the other two forms, it depends. We'll go through that. It depends later. So everyone provides a signed copy of the passport. So you self-sign that. You don't need to get it certified by a professional. And everyone has to send the relevant forms back by email or take it to your local branch. And they've asked for the deadline, 20th of December. So let's go through the forms. I think the most important one to focus on is 1.1 because everyone has to complete that. Everyone needs to sign that form and submit with the copy of their passport. And if you haven't received the forms, again, feel free to email us and we'll send you the forms, or better still, speak to KBank and they can send you the forms because maybe you've got an old email on file or something like this, so they can update your details as well. So let's go through the specific forms. Let's go through these specific forms. So I'll explain this because this, what I've done is gone through the form bit by bit, part by part. So this is form 1.1. And what I've done, the green parts are what everyone has to complete. And then the blue, it depends. We'll go through that later. So everyone has to fill out the name, nationality, place of birth, city, country, and then all foreign citizens have to give their passport number, which has to match up with the passport that they submit. And then this document, then the one below this, we have many, many questions about this. I'll help clear this up. Thai tax ID number, identification number, Thai TIN. And then there's a little bit in red, which is quite, we'll talk about this later, mandatory if you have taxable income in Thailand. So I've put in blue there on the form. If you only have to fill that out if you have taxable income in Thailand and a Thai tax ID number is required, or if you have one already. So I'll explain that later. So fill down the form, right? Okay, so set part 1. What do you need to fill out here? Everyone has to tick this. So these are just general questions. They are FATCA questions. Everyone has to fill this out. So part 1, do you have a tick yes or no? Simple. So are you a US citizen? Pretty obvious and clear. Are you a holder of US permanent residency card? And are you a US resident? So everyone ticks that, yes or no. And that will, if you tick yes to any of these, then you need to fill out that W-9 form. So that's 1.2. So that's why we're going through the 1.1 form. You know, Americans and American connected people are used to filling out that W-9 form. So we won't go through that in detail because they're used to doing that for other requirements. But for this specific new form, everyone has to fill it out. So you tick yes or no. If you feel yes, then you need to fill out the W-9 form. Let's go down to the next section, the additional questions. So with this, this is only if you have ticked yes to the previous part. So everyone completes part 1, question 1, 2, and 3. And then for the next section, additional questions, only, I've put it in blue there, only if you've ticked yes for the US FATCA part. Otherwise, you don't need to. Only if you tick yes above. I mean, you could, if you wished, tick no, but it does say don't do that. It doesn't mention not to do that. So let's go to part 2. So again, everyone needs to tick that box to say, are you a resident for tax purposes in any other country other than Thailand or US or America? So everyone has to complete that. Now I'll explain what a resident for tax purposes actually means, because it's not as clear as we would like it to be. And then the section below, you only fill that out if you've ticked yes on there. It's part 1. And you've paid tax in another jurisdiction. So any countries you've paid tax. Or if you tick no and then you don't have, you need to give a good reason why you have not got either a foreign tin or a Thai tin. So that's the part you tick there. I'll explain that in more detail. So let's talk about what residency means for tax purposes. So this, I've had a lot of questions about this, and I think it's easy to clear up. So let's talk about the definition for residence for tax purposes. So tax residence means particular jurisdiction in which you are liable to pay income tax for income earned or other countries by reason of domicile, number of days, or any other criteria. So what it means is, if you have paid tax in another country or jurisdiction, it doesn't mean you're a tax resident, it just means you're a taxpayer. So if you go into this part where you fill out part, what number is it? Part 1, number 1. Sorry, part 2, number 1. Are you a resident for tax purposes in any other country other than Thailand or US? Let's say, for example, you are from Canada and you receive you're already taxed at source on some of your pensions, for example, then you might not be a tax resident, you might be a taxpayer. You might tick that form. So for example, same with, let's say I've got an Australian rental property. I'm not a tax resident, but I'm a taxpayer. I would tick yes, I'd fill out my Australian ATO details on the form below. So this question, just to clear this up, it's not about just your residency. It's a bit of a strange word, and it actually means anywhere that you're paying tax. So anywhere that you've got a tax ID number where you are paying tax. So let's go through the next form. So on this section, it actually explains this is mandatory to fill out for non-Thai citizens who have taxable income in Thailand and they don't provide a Thai tin. So if you haven't provided the documentary evidence that you need, then you need to give a reason why you don't need a Thai tin number. So for non-Thai citizens, so that's most expats who have taxable income in Thailand, why haven't you provided a tin number? So this is important to fill out. So not everyone needs a Thai tax ID number. We'll explain that in detail. So you only complete this if you tick no to question 1, or you cannot provide a tin in Thailand or USA, or if you ticked reason B and don't provide your foreign tin. So this is if you've completed part of the form and not given them the full answers. So let's say you did tick, you've got a French tax residence, but you don't put the details down. Well, why? You've got to put the information there. Or if you don't provide any tax ID numbers, you've got to provide a valid reason why. Hopefully most people don't need to fill that out. So let's explain what this is, where a lot of confusion about this around the Thai tax ID and Thai tin. Mandatory, and in red, it's on the form if you have taxable income in Thailand. So it specifically states a Thai TIN is mandatory if you've got taxable income in Thailand. What I'll do is just give you a quick explanation on what TIN requirement is. We've got a video explaining this in a lot more detail because it's very detailed conversation, which will be sent to you if you're watching this live. And if you're watching the recording, it will be in the description. So I'll send you a video, more detailed description, more detailed video about Thai tax ID numbers and who is a tax resident for tax purposes. We'll go through that in a lot more detail. But let's just go through simply what definition of taxable income in Thailand is. Like I said, we've got a detailed video on this. Will be sent to you separately. So what is the definition of taxable income? So anyone who has a Thai domestic income, so if you've got a Thai rental property or a salary in Thailand, regardless of the amount of days you're in Thailand, you have a taxable income, you will need a Thai tax ID number. And then the other definition is anyone who remains 180 days or more in a calendar year. So that's 1st of January to the 31st of December. If you stay in Thailand 180 days or more, and you remit, which means transfer foreign sourced income into Thailand over the minimum filing requirements, then that is a definition of having taxable income. And then you would need a Thai tax ID number. These rules changed the start of 2024. So I'll quickly go into this, but we've got a detailed video on this. So let's talk about what taxable income sources are under the Revenue Code Section 40. There's 8 parts. So if you live in Thailand 180 days or more and you remit, so you transfer or spend what's defined as foreign source income, then you need to file a Thai tax return if you meet the criteria, and you'll need a TIN. So what is taxable income? You can see on the Revenue Code, salary and pensions from overseas, that's section part 1. Investment, capital gains, dividends, that's part 4. Rental income from overseas, part 5. And property sale, part 8. So there are different areas. So if you bring in any of these types of assets from overseas that have been earned or received in 2024, and you've stayed for 180 days or more, that's a definition that you are a Thai. You need a Thai tax ID number. So if you do need a Thai tax ID number, how can you get one? So the easiest solution, if you've got time on your hands and you don't mind the bureaucracy, is to visit your local revenue office. You can apply for free. You need to take all the requirements, all the documents, take proof that you need a tax ID number. So, I recommend that you take someone who can, if you're not fluent in Thai, take someone who can speak to the revenue office on your behalf, even though some of the revenue offices have got very good English. Some of the regional ones, it might be better to take someone to help with this. Or you could use a paid service like Expat Tax Thailand. We can obtain TINs on people's behalf if they need it. So not everyone needs one, but we can take the hassle away and not have to visit government offices. If you would like a free initial call to decide whether you do need a tax ID number or you do need to do anything with these new tax changes, feel free to get in touch. We are here to help. We can help you advise and just give you a bit of peace of mind, maybe, that you don't need to do anything as well, potentially. So we do have a TIN service, like I mentioned. We can obtain that on your behalf. You just fill out a simple form. We'll take care of that. If you'd like more information, feel free to look on our website. So let's go through this. So people don't need to panic. This is standard practice. You're not being targeted. It's a global change to tax compliance, and CRS have demanded that all banks and institutions collect this data on their behalf. There's no requirement to get a tax ID number if you don't need one, only if you meet the criteria for filing. So if you have domestic income or bringing in foreign source income that's been earned in the current year. So we've got a video on this to explain that in more detail, but that's just a simple explanation. And the forms that you have been given, they can be submitted by email or visiting the branch. So I hope that's cleared up a lot of the questions. What I will do is, we've had many that have come in by email already. We've got plenty of questions that have come in the chat. So I'll focus on the ones from the chat first. What if you have not received requests? So I recommend you reach out to your bank and ask for the forms. Maybe they've got your old email address on there. I think that's important to do. What if I haven't received the KBank forms, but have an account there? Same question. So I recommend you get in touch with the bank to fill that out. Thanks for having us. Just sent a question via the form on the website. Yeah, feel free to send the questions and we'll get in touch. Is there a security concern about sending this information via email? Yes, so that's what I actually spoke to the bank about this specifically. The main reason is, for example, Expat Tax Thailand, with all of our secure portal, everything is through the cloud, through our two-step encryption, military-grade encryption through the US. So for us as a business, we take this seriously. And I also think people, if they don't want to email the documents across, they can take that to the branch. Let's go through the last questions that I've received, because some of these we've answered already. Okay, how to prove that the money being transferred to Thailand was earned in prior years? So I think with this question, it's more to do with, are you a Thai tax? Have you got Thai tax to pay, or do you have a Thai tax filing obligation? So this question is, you need to keep the bank statements to show the bank balances as of the 31st of December 2023. We'll go through that in more details in another webinar. Let's go through this. Is pension income synonymous with Social Security income? So, okay, let's talk about a few exemptions on there for remittance of income. If you have US Social Security, or you have a civil service pension or military pension from most countries around the world, or if you have a Canadian pension and you remit these assets, these are all tax exempt. There are others, but the majority you have to file if you are a Thai tax resident. So let's go into the CRS questions a little bit more rather than tax residency questions. I think that's really important to do. I have a TIN because I own a condo, but I do not have taxable income in Thailand. What do I fill out on section 1 page of the form? Yeah, so it only asks you for your tax ID number. It doesn't ask that you've got taxable income. So you should put your details on there. So we'll look at a few more questions. Okay, if I have an LTR visa and no Thai income, staying 180 days or more, do I need a TIN? Well, this all depends if you brought in foreign source income in the same year or not. So if we've got a specific video and more content around LTR, so I think it'd be important to reach out separately on that. So far, only KBank is requesting this for now. Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, KBank have been on the ball and diligent to send this out. All banks have been requested to collect this information. KBank are the first one to do this. So I think it shows, shows KBank in good light that they are acting and meeting the requirements that they've been asked for. One question, is this all banks? Yeah, so all banks will eventually request this information. Let's say you open up a new bank, this will be requested as you set up a bank, but because of the way that CRS has come into play, then now the banks in Thailand are having to ask for this information separately. Whereas if for most countries, this has been in place since 2016. So this is not a thing in other countries, it's quite common. So look at a few more questions. My only income in Thailand is meager bank interest, which I get, which has withholding tax applied. I assume this doesn't require a TIN. Now, good question. So if it's only bank interest and it's not over the minimum threshold for, depends if you're married or not. If you're married, it's 120,000 Thai baht of income. So that can be bank interest. If you're not married, it's 60,000 for bank, any sort of interest that's paid to yourself. yeah, so you don't need to be honest, most people in that situation don't need to worry. Okay, good question. What if I received Thai salary last year and I have a Thai tax ID number? And the next year I don't and stay more than 180 days. Do I stay a Thai tax resident? Oh, okay, clear. Okay, so the question that came in is if I received a Thai salary last year and I have a Thai TIN, in the next year I don't in the next year I don't stay a Thai tax resident. Once I become okay, I'll have to move on because the question doesn't really make much sense. Do I need a TIN if my only income is Thai bank interest? So like I mentioned earlier, and it's likely that you're not over the requirements to file for interest on there. So no, most likely no. Let me try something new. Let me just go on to the, let me try and, I want to put some of these questions on the screen itself. Let's see if I can do this. Bear with me a second because it might be useful for people, you see. See if I can. New technology. Let me see if I can get it to work. So let me try and do this. 1 second. It might be quite useful for people. Just bear with me. I can put the questions onto the slide, you see. If I can get it right. So let's see if this works. Yes, it does. Okay, let me put some of these questions onto the actual chat. See if this works. Sorry for bearing with me. Okay, there we go. Technology at its finest. So I'm living less than 6 months with a foreign income paid in Thailand. I have a TIN from my old job. Can I use it? Yes, you can use the TIN number on the form. Doesn't mean you've got a tax liability just because they're asking for the data. Can you drop required KBank form into the Q&A? If you just send us an email, we can send that across to you. That's no problem. Next question. If I have a pink Thai ID card, is the ID card number my TIN? Yes, you can use the pink ID number. It's 13 digits. You can use that as your TIN. Yes, correct. So a specific question. All right, this is specifically around pension income and double taxation agreement. So this is covered in another video that you will be sent separately. But I'll touch on it now because I've got a lot of questions about this. So state pension and company pension. I assume this is UK, but let's answer this question. According to the DTA, taxed in different countries. I mentioned them both. Okay, so you should put down the countries where you are taxed on the asset. So any country that you are paying tax on should be noted down on the form. If they're different, then yeah, you should name them both down. Okay, good question. What happens if I just provide my Thai TIN but live in Thailand less than 180 days? I don't really understand the question, but you can, even if you're a non-Thai tax resident, you can put down your TIN number. That's what it's asking for. It's not asking for only if you are a Thai tax resident. Right, let's have a look at this. I have an account with KBank, but by far my main account is Bangkok Bank. I haven't received the CRS form from either bank. Should I wait for Bangkok Bank to send? Yeah, so you don't need to contact your banks unless you know there's a forms to complete. We know there are forms to complete for KBank, so I would reach out to them to get the forms, but for other banks, I would wait for them to contact you. So for them, it's their obligation to collect the data, not for you to provide to the banks. So look at a few more questions. This is a complicated question, but I think it's relevant. I'll explain it in a bit more detail what CRS actually is. How does one CRS country know to ask or send CRS information to another country? How do they know you are a tax resident or not? I'm from the UK, but not tax resident. I'm tax resident in Thailand, but have no need to file a Thai tax return as I only transfer savings to Thailand. So, maybe on there you'd put if you're paying tax in the UK, you'd put your UK tax number on there. If not, if you don't have any tax to pay anywhere, for example, in this example, and you don't need a Thai tax ID number, this would be the example where you would tick, you wouldn't fill that out, and you'd fill out that box where you have to give a reason why you don't need a Thai tax ID number. So that's important, why you don't fill out any form. So there are certain people that don't have tax to pay in any jurisdiction. If they're living on cash, they wouldn't need to fill out the UK tax ID number because it's not what they're asking for. So I hope that clears it up, or maybe complicates things. Let's look at a few more questions. Sorry, it's slow. I've got to read through the questions, see if it makes sense to me, and I can put it on there. Received anything with the two banks? Yeah, okay. Another few questions. Another few questions about what if I don't receive the forms? We've answered that already. Is this CRS a start toward global taxation system? No, I mean, it was set up for exchange of information for tax residents, and that's the main reason it was set up. There's no indication that it's to move towards a global taxation system. That depends on the individual countries. I don't really understand the question. Thailand is still a remittance tax basis, and only if assets are remitted to Thailand or you've got domestic income that this is relevant. So we've got plenty more questions that have come in, so let's go through these. I'm happy to answer them. Question, which I'll put it on there, but it doesn't really don't really understand it so much. So can I transfer my 400,000 Thai baht from Capricorn to my wife's Capricorn? I'm not a Thai tax resident. Can you transfer money within Thailand from yourself to wife? Yeah, there's no issue with that. And the gift limits for internal transfers like that are well above that limit. So I don't really understand the question. Let's have a look at this question. So this is quite interesting. Without your webinars, I would not have known about the KBank forms, as I have not received the forms. Does the December deadline still apply? And what, if I just ignore it, what can the bank do? So what can the bank do? So one is they might chase you to the same email they've got on file. I assume that the email that you've got is not relevant. Maybe it's out of date or they've got it incorrect. So I would speak with the branch, the local branch, and update your details and ask them to send you the forms direct, because they have asked it from all bank account clients, foreign bank account clients. So the December deadline still applies to yourself because you're still a bank client. It's they've just because they haven't sent you the information, I would make sure that you do deal with that, because what the implications could be is they could potentially resend the same information to you again, have another end date. If they don't send it, then maybe they could stop you transferring assets, receiving assets, or freeze your account until you provide the data. And then if you don't reply, they could close your account. I mean, they're the extreme versions, but that's the implications of this. One question about, I have multiple accounts with the same bank. Do I need to fill out the form once or just one for each bank? Yeah, so I would just fill out once for each bank. Got a question here. Okay, let's get serious. Nothing received from KBank. In reality, how to request phone is incomprehensible and local branches are now effectively non-English. I mean, I beg to differ. So I spoke to the KBank at length. speak perfect English, and they called me straight back. So I beg to differ. I think maybe I would try the helpline, very helpful. And the end of the day, you're in Thailand. If you go to a local branch and they don't speak English, if you went to your home country and you start talking in a different language, then that's not what would you expect. So I think I beg to differ. I think KBank on the phone, especially if you do call them, they're on the ball and they speak perfect English if you go through to the English department, English speaking option on the phone. If you do want to, mention about going to the local branch, if you don't want to do that by email, I recommend you do go to the local branch. Okay. Should I put a country I don't work there, but I have a tax number? So what they're actually asking for is anything where you're paying tax. So if you're not paying tax in that country, that's not what it's asking for. It's asking for tax residence. So it's asking for anything which the definition is anyway, you are paying tax. So do you need to put a country I don't work there and you're not paying tax? I think I understand your question is, I don't think it's relevant to put down all of your tax history. I mean, some of the expats that we work with, they've worked in 20, 30 countries. So I don't think that's what they're necessarily asking for, to be quite honest. Okay, I have a question, which really is about tax evasion. I think I'd like to just answer this if that's all right. Does remit transfer also include foreign currency brought into the country within the allowed limit and converted to Thai baht at Super Rich, which is a currency conversion exchange company, spending in Thailand on an overseas credit card? So this question relates to someone who has a Thai tax filing obligation. And let's talk about this bluntly. So if someone is trying to circumvent the Thai personal income tax rules by bringing in cash and not declaring that as income, if it is income, or using a foreign credit card and paying that off with assessable income, then this is in effect tax evasion. If you are audited, there's a transaction history from Super Rich for all the clients that are switching money. It's what someone's asking there is tax evasion. So I think it's pretty obvious that's not a good outcome if you're using that as a method for spending in Thailand. Let's go through this question. So to clarify, is your status as a Thai tax resident revalued each year? Or if I become a Thai tax resident once, is it hard to get rid of it again? So very good question. Thailand's tax residency is all down to the amount of days you stay in a calendar year. So unlike other jurisdictions like Singapore, UK, Australia, where it's X amount of years within how many years you've been there within a certain amount of years, and you can be tied through connecting factors and things like this. Thailand's tax residency system is very simple. Have you remained in Thailand 180 days or more in a calendar year or not? If you haven't, then you are a non-Thai tax resident. So you could be one year, next year not be, and then be one the next year. So it's all down to how many days have you been in Thailand in a calendar year. So you can be a Thai tax resident 1 year and the next year not be one. So it doesn't really matter about hard to get rid of. It's all down to do with calendar years. Another question here. I think it's quite interesting. Not read it fully, but I think it'd be good to answer. If I enter the country with a DTV visa with permission to work remotely, in the country more than 180 days, do I have to pay tax on my remote income? So everything I bring to Thailand. What expenses need to be submitted? Credit card charges, cash withdrawals. So this is a very specific tax question. This is answered on the other video. But if you've been in Thailand 180 days or more, regardless of your visa status, whether it's tourist visa or marriage visa, retirement visa, doesn't matter. You're a Thai tax resident, then it matters about what you have remitted, transferred to Thailand in that tax year. So if you do bring in, assume in this example, they're remitting in dividends or salary from an overseas job, I assume, then they would need to file a Thai tax return for the money that's been remitted or spent in Thailand. What expenses need to be submitted? So anything that's spent or remitted into Thailand. So it's drawn out on an ATM card and it's income, or if it's been transferred into Thailand in that year, that needs to be recorded down. Credit card, if you're paying that off with income, then that needs to be put down. So I hope that's useful. It's not really relevant for this CRS, but I think it's interesting just to go through. Another question here about joint accounts. Is it one CRS form for all my bank accounts, including joint accounts and spouse accounts? So good question. I don't know. I think it's good to speak with the branch. What they're asking for the CRS is individual account owners. So if it's a joint account, I assume they want it for both account holders. And they will ask for it from both account holders. Maybe they'll send it to both. So I would speak to the branch just to clear this up. It's a very good question. I'm not sure, but when we look at CRS, it's all to do with individuals. So if you've got a joint account, I expect they'll want it for both account holders. But it's a very good question. I think that's one to call the KBank helpline with, rather than just taking my answer that maybe not correct. I'd ask them direct if that's all right. But yeah, it's a very good question and very valid. Right, okay, let's have a look at this. I pay property tax only in the EU on a privately owned holiday home. Do I need to disclose that my TIN in that country? So, I mean, the definition is that you're paying tax in another jurisdiction. So I would put it down. There's no, in my opinion, there's no harm in adding the details on the form. If you don't have a Thai tax liability for there, there's no problem with adding that on the form, to be quite honest. You know, the form is, it's not to catch people out, and that's not the purpose of CRS. It's so that you need to comply with these details. So I would add it on there, definitely. Okay, let's look at this question. I'm a non-Thai tax resident, live in Australia, but keep 400,000 Thai baht in the account for visas. Have not received the email. Okay, so for this question again, I would I'd call the branch, the bank, and ask for the documents for yourself. So if you're a non-Thai tax resident, you don't need to, depends. If you've got a Thai tax ID number, add the Thai tax ID number. If you don't have the Thai tax ID number, you can add your Australian tax number on there. And so that's clear. Okay, so look at this question. We've transferred a lump sum this year from Australia savings into our Thai bank, already paid Australian tax on this money. So there's a lot of there's a lot of questions that we need to be able to answer this. So one, when you transferred, so when was the money in the account from? Was the money in the account from, you mentioned that there's been tax paid on that money. When was it received in the bank? Was the money in the account already on the 31st of December 2023? If so, then this is not assessable income. If, however, you transferred the lump sum, so let's say you got taxable income into Australia this year, in the current tax year, and you're a Thai tax resident this year, and then you transfer that lump sum into Thailand, we need to look at the double taxation agreement to see what that states for those types of income sources in Thailand. So if it's pension income, salary, property rental income, dividends, then you need to declare that on a Thai tax return. You need to file, maybe use appropriate tax credits for that situation. So quite a vague question. So there's more that we need to give you more answers. Devil's in the detail. Do I need to chase all banks that I have bank accounts with? So we know that KBank have sent this out to all account holders. So for those specifically, I would, if you haven't received the forms for all of the banks, this is the first one that we've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, that there are other banks have sent this out, but I've not seen that yet. So I would wait until you receive it. Or if you sign up to our tax alerts, we will keep you up to date with any that we see or that we find out about. That's the purpose of our tax alert service. It's so that we can keep you up to date with any sort of tax issue in Thailand that we can help with. Okay, one question here. Long question. I've held a KBank for approximately 12 years and it's set up a previous address. My wife was renting the condo. She has no connection to this address for 10 years and I still use the bank when I visit Thailand. We have both lived in the UK for 10 years, so the bank account has only money in and out when we visit for holiday. Where do I stand with this account? So on the form specifically, I don't think it even asks your address. That's a separate issue with the bank. You know, I would update your address with the bank directly and fill out the form appropriately. So if you, you know, if it's asking for your tax ID numbers wherever you are a tax resident, add that those details on, and then you can contact your bank directly to update your details. So I think there's two separate issues on here. One, bank address and what details they've got on file for you, and two is this CRS form. So that's not what's on the specific form. It's more to do with your tax details. Okay, one question on here, which is quite relevant. My superannuation payments are paid as an Australian pension, paid to my Wise account, approximately 40,000 baht per month, which is then transferred to my Kasicon account after currency conversion. Is this over the threshold and needing a TIN? Where do I stand with this account? So, okay, let's talk about account minimum thresholds, because I'll go into detail because everyone who's just wanted to talk about CRS has dropped off, so that's good. So let's talk about specifics about this. Will be in the video that we'll send to you, but let's talk about this. So if you've got a pension, not excluding US Social Security or Canadian pensions or civil service pensions, let's exclude those ones. So any other type of pension from any other country, apart from ones that are excluded, there is always a caveat, but let's talk in general terms. If you're a Thai tax resident, 180 days or more in a calendar year, and you bring in, remit foreign source income, then you have to file a Thai tax return. So superannuation is an Australian pension. Okay, I understand that this is taxed money that's gone in, but under the double taxation agreement between Australia and Thailand, there is no specific exclusion for superannuation pensions. So what does that mean? Under the double taxation agreement, it shows that you're taxable in Thailand on that pension. If you remit that pension into Thailand, you have to declare it on a Thai tax return. So that's over the limit. Let's talk about the limit. So if you're married, limit is 220,000 Thai baht. And if you're not married, it's 120,000 Thai baht for pension income specifically. But the good thing is Thailand has very favorable allowances and deductions for retirees. So, you know, the new tax rules, it's nothing to be scared of or worried about. Just because you have to file a tax return doesn't mean you've got a punitive tax situation. So if you're bringing in 480,000 Thai baht per year from this super, if you are over 65 or older, for example, you get 190,000 allowance, plus you get your personal allowance, 60,000, plus if you're married, you get another 60,000, plus because you're bringing in pension, you get another 100,000. So these are all the allowances before you start getting into the tax brackets. So for this exact example, let's say you are 65 or older and you're married, you have to file a tax return, but the tax return will show you don't have any tax to pay on this because you're under the minimum because of the Thailand's generous allowances and deductions. So you'd need a TIN and you'd need to file a tax return. But with this specific case, if that's your only income, then you would have no tax to pay, but you meet the minimum thresholds to file. So I hope that's useful. Yeah, so I'll make sure that we send this video out to everyone that's joined as well, so that you've got the information to hand. So we'll look at a few more questions. Right, okay, another question about, I've had a, oh, wait a second, let me delete this off. First time I've used this, so it's not, I'm just getting used to it. I've had a Thai TIN for income tax purposes from 2018 and 19. I've had no income in Thailand and not lived there here or owned anything. Do I still have to provide the old TIN? Of course, I am providing the foreign TIN. Yeah, you can put the TIN down. It's asking for the TIN. It doesn't say only if you're a Thai tax resident, it just asks for the TIN number. So yeah, why not? one question about who this. I'll put this question up and I'll try and talk through this rather than loading up the slides again. Let me talk through this question. So please explain again who must fill out W-9. Don't work but receive a small amount of interest here under 10,000 baht. So look at the document. 1 second. Let me load it up again. Because I'd like to answer this question live because I think it will be helpful. Okay, let's go through to the section. Sorry about this. I've got to get through to the slides that I don't know it off by heart. So, right, okay. So you only need to complete the W-9 form if you tick yes to 1.1 part 1 questions 1, 2, and 3. So if you look back at the video, it will explain it in more detail, but hopefully that helps. Okay, let's go through a few more questions because there's a lot. Second, let me get my screen up. Yeah, I'm happy to go through these because there's a lot of questions and it is a concern for people. Yeah, okay. One question that's quite interesting and relevant for this is, so remittance does exceed 220,000 Thai baht, but is all social security doing 85? Okay, if you've got non-exempt foreign source income, exempt assets that you're bringing in, then it's not classed as income. It doesn't need to be filed on a tax return. So if you're bringing in social security money only, you don't need a TIN and you don't need to file. You just need to keep a very good record to show that this is from those sources. And you can provide that to the bank. You can write down that you don't need a TIN because you're only bringing in non-assessable income. That's fine. So I've not read this question before, but I should read it. Okay, if I earned income before 2023, sorry, 31st of December 23, now want to transfer part of this into Thailand each year going forward to pay for retirement, is it subject to Thai tax or is it only income gains since? Okay, yes, that's a good question. So I assume, so the definition is actually cash in the bank. So if you've moved that income out and put it into like an investment account, that's different, that's capital gains. But if you've got cash in the bank, you can show the cash was in there on the 31st of December 2023. You can remit that money, transfer it into Thailand anytime in the future without any tax implication, as long as you keep a very good record to show this on a first in, first out method. So we've got a video to explain this in detail. So like I say, the Thai Revenue Department, they've been very helpful and clear, and they give this favorable exemption for things like this. So yeah, it's all on the website actually and in detail. So look at any more questions that I've not answered. Okay, good question here. How safe to send Australian tax file number to Thailand? Would prefer to close the account. So I don't think that's really the answer to close accounts because all the banks will ask for this information. And if they want the information, they can find it direct. Yeah, I think it's important to comply and fill out the details on there. If you've got no tax filing obligation, and you've got no issues with it, there's no issue putting the details down there. So in my opinion, it's easier just to add the details on there and then it's done then, because you can be asked for that in the future. With advances in AI, I really think this is the sort of thing where you won't be asked in the future. All this will be matched up directly. So I think the idea of trying to not put details down, those days will be gone within a few years anyway, in my opinion. Okay, one question about Thai property and ownership and shareholding. It's a bit too much for this. And if you send by email, I can answer that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the questions. Is there any more that have come in? Oh, yeah, okay. So there's one question about US pensions. So if you've got a US pension and you remit into Thailand, then the double taxation agreement shows that they are taxed in Thailand and not in the US. We've got a double taxation agreement webinar specifically about this. If you'd like more questions, if you'd like to watch that, that will help you with that. Will this webinar be posted on your website? So we will put this webinar on the website, and this specific one, and we'll send it all out to individuals as well. Okay, I surrendered a pension fund and didn't receive it until January. Am I liable for tax on this? Yeah, it was received in a Thai tax year, so that's important. How can I find my local tax office? I'd have a look on Google to find that your local tax office and ask there specifically. Any more questions? What happens if I have an LTF? I guess LTR, I assume that means. Do I need to fill a form with this provider? Not the bank. Oh, LTF, sorry. Okay, clear. I thought you meant LTR visa. Okay, LTF. Only if they ask for the information. So they will potentially ask for the information, LTF, so investments. Yeah, okay. Someone asked, one screen said funds remitted over a minimum requirements. What does that mean? Minimum. So one of the slides mentioned about minimum filing requirements. So if you bring in foreign source income under a certain level, what I mentioned earlier, then you need to file a Thai tax return. If you don't, then you don't need to file on that. So that's in the other webinar. I think that's really useful. One question about just wondering if you met with the RD this week as discussed in our call. If so, will it be posted? Sorry, I added the name on there, but this is the last name on. Sorry about that. Just wondered if you met with the RD this week as discussed in our call. If so, will it be posted? Yeah, so we actually recorded an interview with the Revenue Department to discuss this in detail. So everything that we say and put out is being vetted and discussed with the Revenue Department as well. So we'll post out more videos to come. Let me look at a few more. Okay, good question here. I think this is a good question to answer on here. When are tax returns due each year in Thailand? So the tax year in Thailand runs from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. If you have a Thai tax filing obligation and you meet the criteria, you need to file a Thai tax return from the 1st of January in the next tax year all the way until the 31st of March if you want to file paper-based. You can do that at the local revenue office, or if you want to file online with the Revenue Department, that's extended to the 8th of April. Or you could use a tax service like ourselves, and we will file that on your behalf, and we can file that all the way up until the 8th of April. But we've got a client portal to help with this, with tax filing. So that's when tax returns are due and how you can file. Any other questions before I drop off on here? One specific question about a specific pension type, UN pension. You've got to have a look at the agreements between Thailand and UN or the country. Yeah, specific countries we need to speak separately rather than put in answers to questions like that, because we've got to make sure that it's right and right for your situation depending on the different types of pension. One asking about multiple passports. I think the question asks, what passports do you have on there? So I'd fill out all the details. if I buy a condo in Thailand, am I automatically obliged to do the tax filing? No, only if you meet the requirements for income, do you need to do that. One question confused about US pensions. So we'd have to look at the specific US Thai double taxation agreement webinar. The IRA accounts are classed as pensions, so I'd have a look at that separately. So double taxation, can I fill out, sorry, I'm not adding them onto the screen. The double taxation, can I fill out a DT form, sent to HMRC and not pay tax in the UK and pay tax in Thailand? Good questions. Can you get an NT tax code in the UK? Very difficult. It's likely that you pay tax at source, and then when you remit, bring that money into Thailand, you file a Thai tax return and use the tax paid as a tax credit. If you'd like any more information on these, feel free to get in touch. This is all we do, and we're happy to help. So who needs to complete the form W-8BEN form? So that's only if you've ticked those certain boxes on the form itself, on the main 1.1 form. So it specifically tells you how to do that on there. And let me help you. Let me load up the sheet. I'll go through this because I don't want to leave you not knowing the answer when I can get it. Yeah. If people would like to drop off, then fine. I'll answer this one though. I think it's important. Here we go. So you only need to fill out that W-8BEN form if you tick yes to form 1.1, the additional questions. There's one that says that's a yes, no tick boxes. So only if you fill those out. So like, were you born in the US, but fully legally surrendered US citizenship, and all the other questions on there. So there's 6 questions. If you tick yes to any of those, you need to fill that form out. So I really hope this has been useful. And yeah, this has been helpful for people for the content from here. If anyone would like any further help, reach out through our website. We're happy to help answer simple questions like this. This is all we do all day, every day. I've got a full Thai team that can help with Thai tax filing and questions. And we've got very good connections with the revenue in terms of difficult cases or difficult questions. We're happy to help. We've got a lot more webinars coming up as well. So if you do sign up to the tax alerts, I think that's the best way to stay in touch. And any further updates, we can keep you updated. All right. Thank you. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.